are the unnamed and unnumbered who struggle brave and long for the union men and women standing up and standing strong. Yep.
Thank you for coming out. Looks like the weather is not great, but we're in here and we're feeling strong. My name is Hian Burbano. I'm a member of Canadian Union of Public Workers, and I'm a co-president of Local 3393 and also a member of the Latin American Trade Unionists Coalition, LATUC, which is organizing locally and across the country Latin American trade unionists in the movement. I want to welcome you on behalf of the Labour Caucus of the Greater Toronto Workers' Assembly. This focus is part of a series of discussions and forums that have been taking place out of the Labour Caucus of the Workers' Assembly to look at how we can confront more in the long term the austerity measures that are impacting us locally, regionally, nationally, obviously, and also how we can rebuild our unions and our movements generally for more effective and stronger working class resistance. And these forums, there's going to be other forums that are going to take place, but it's leading up to the conference that the Labour Caucus of the Workers' Assembly is organizing in January, which hopefully can lead to building a stronger left pole, as Sam has mentioned to me, within the labor movement, which is very, very much needed. I know that some of you are probably feeling like I am about the fact that Rob Ford is the new mayor of Toronto, so we have a lot to think about and to contemplate in terms of the strength of the right, both municipally and what could happen in the upcoming provincial election here in Ontario. We know what's happened federally with Harper's Conservatives. But the focus today is to look at some concrete examples of effective organizing and resistance that is happening in our movement. And we have 3 speakers. They're going to speak for about 10 or 15 minutes each, and then we're going to open it up for some Q&A. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce each speaker, give a bit of background, and then we'll start. First of all, we have Don Guest, who's here to my left. He's the first vice president of the Brantford District Labour Council, a member of United Steelworkers Local 1-500, and one of the lead organizers of the 3 days of solidarity picket for striking workers in Brantford. Without further ado, we
in the back and see. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here tonight.
You want to turn down or you can sit?
Well, I can sit up.
Sure, no problem.
I can sit.
Whatever you want.
As long as everybody can hear me, that's all that matters. I've still got a cold from the 3 days of action. I just haven't been able to kick it. So, well, first of all, I come from a large local. It was an old IWA local. We merged with the steelworkers, so I have 42 different sub-locals in my plant. Now, I work in an egg carton plant in Brantford. I'm a millwright by trade, so I kind of jumped into this head first and become an activist. So it doesn't matter what you do, it's pretty easy to step up to the plate. You just need to do it, get motivated, and get on with it. My story starts with a brave group of workers from ECP. It's a converting plant in Brantford. They make house wrap, food pouches, things like that. They've been on strike for 2 years. And for 2 years, not one of those strikers has crossed the picket line. So that's a fact that I'm very proud of. Leading to the strike, I guess, were some pretty crazy demands for 25% clawbacks in wages, freeze, cease or defined benefit pension plan, imposed continental work week, low overtime. So those members have said no, and they said no big time, and they've stuck together. So we needed to get them back to the table. They seem to be getting forgotten. The steelworkers are a very large organization, and because of some strikes at Valley Inco and at Lake Erie Steel, these guys seem to be getting washed under the carpet. So it was actually some CUPE brothers and sisters that came to the Labour Council and said, you know what, we've been doing a very good job of It's been a great Christmas story. Operation Christmas Cheer comes, we raise all kinds of money, we help them out. We need to do something that really is going to impact these workers and give them some hope. Because you can imagine after 2 years, these guys are starting to get pretty ragged on the picket line. So, the Brantford Strike Action Committee was formed. It was just a group of local, some transit workers, some steel workers, some CAW guys, and a few strikers. So we decided we were going to take on the world, we were going to occupy the plant. Well, that went nowhere real fast. Once the hierarchy got involved, they thought that we needed to do a few things before we even dreamt about something like that. So we came up with an idea. We'd call a summit. We called the summit with no bride, no groom. So we called our meeting, invited everybody. Nobody answered for about a week. I was starting to get worried. Then Brother Sid Ryan, OFL president, he called. So we had our hook. So we had the first one. Then Fred Hahn, president of CUPE Ontario, called. We had our second. Then Marie Clark Walker got on board. Transit workers got on board. Everybody started to roll in because they were appalled at what was going on. How could a plant be on strike for 2 years? And a lot of people didn't know what was going on. I don't know how many in this room, how many people would know about this little strike in Brantford. It was 300 feet away from the police station, right? So they can't get away with anything on this picket line. So the goal was to make these 86 members the poster child for anti-scab legislation in Ontario. That was our dream. We weren't sure if we were going to pull it off. But after it was standing room only in our summit, and the real reason we had that meeting was to bring in the leaders together, because we knew that if we got everybody in the same room and they heard the story, there's no way that they could walk out of that room without taking some action. So out of that day, we planned 3 days of solidarity, 3 days of action. Well, it started out 3 days of action, and the lawyers made us call it 3 days of solidarity. So we did. We shut them down for 3 full days. They closed the plant. They snuck in at 4 o'clock in the morning and took the scabs out. That's another thing everybody should know. They've been scabbing this plant from day one. So they came in with a bus. We let them out. We wanted them to go. We didn't want to hold them in there, so we let them go. They were gone. And then for the next 3 days, we had 3 different days of solidarity. The first day was billed as CAW Day. And it was only a concentration day. People could come on any day they wanted to come. And we got 3 big unions involved to start with, so they made the full commitment to come. So we built it to 3 days of solidarity, one at a time. So CAW Day, CUPE Day, or CUPE Day was the first day, sorry. The second day was CAW Day, and the third day was Steelworker Day. But in the meantime, everybody came. Teachers, bricklayers, laborers, everybody got involved. So it really wasn't an individual day. So we actually did, another thing we did was to try and get people to come out. We created posters for every single union in their colors with their logos, and we sent them to them. So they didn't have to do anything. All they had to do was click, click, and it was gone. So people were sending me back their own posters saying, hey, where'd this come from? It was great. This was much easier. I had a whole PowerPoint presentation, and pictures and videos.
No problem.
But anyway, okay, back to the summit, the original summit. So we really established who the enemy was. So these workers, believe it or not, offered to give back 16% to the company, which is obscene. You know, everybody's crawling in their chairs. I was myself when I heard it as well. But they did. And the company said, not good enough. Like, their accountants must have been squirming more than the union people in this room. Who would turn down 16%? So this isn't about a collective agreement. This is about breaking a union. This is an American company from Florida. They've decided they're going to take these guys on. There isn't going to be a settlement until they get what they want. Well, unfortunately, we got in the way. And I'm not sure if we wouldn't have got in the way, that they might not have just disappeared, being it that long. Because with nobody knowing who they were, but now today, everybody in the labor movement really knows who ECP is and what their struggle is, because there's a million videos on YouTube. So, the 15th, 16th, and 17th came. Pretty uneventful. We had probably 20 people sleeping in the labor center. We opened that up and hosteled people that wanted to stay. On the second day, they tried to sneak a bus in. Purely, I guess I should go back a little bit. On the third day, on the Friday, we had to go to court because our members were yelling at people. They were stepping across the line. All those radical things that get people arrested. I mean, this has got to be the calmest, coolest picket line I've ever seen in my life. And you can imagine why, being 300 yards away from the police station. Because every time they sneeze, the police are there. Right? So we had to go to court on Friday. So for 2 days we had a huge rally at the picket line. And on the Friday we decided to march to the courtyard, downtown Brantford, and have our rally on the courtyard's front lawn. So we loaded up the 25-foot-high Laguna rat that we had in the middle of the picket line, and we put it on the back of the truck, and we cranked up the music, and we started about a 5-mile walk to the courthouse. And if you go online and look at the video, you'll see the support we got from all the people in Brantford coming to the doors and waving. And finally, these guys were painted in a light that they weren't the enemy, that the company was the enemy. And so at the end of this 3 days, Ken Newman, the president of the Steelworkers, got to stand up and say that we were going to be going back to the table. And we taught them a lesson. And I hate to tell you, but we went back to the table, not me personally, but we went back to the table and nothing happened. The company wanted to leave before they got there. The only reason they stayed till after lunch was the provincial mediator put them off until after. So they came back with 40% demands. So right now we're in the middle of either charging with bargaining in bad faith and working very closely with the OFL for our next action. So there may be 3 more days of action, there may be 7 more, there may be 10 more. But it's clear that we can't leave these guys out to dry, and they're counting on our return. So if anybody's interested, you can take my card. If you want to see what we've been doing, you can go to the Brantford District Labour Council website. It's just www.brantfordlabourcouncil.ca. And there's a ton of information there. One of the things we're working on is anti-scab legislation. I'm sure most of you have heard the federal anti-scab legislation got voted down last week. 115, 140, something like that. The funny thing about that legislation was that it was the identical legislation. The NDP had one a couple years ago. Bill, I can't remember the name of it. 86. It might even be the wrong number. But after that, it got voted down, and there was only one Liberal MP that voted for it. And that happened to be the Liberal from my riding, because I dogged him for 2 weeks prior to the vote and embarrassed him into voting that way. Unfortunately, he was the only one of the NDP that voted for it. And then within the next few days, the Liberals came up with another version of anti-scab legislation, but with proroguing Parliament, it died on the floor. Well, the Bloc picked up the exact same resolution and brought it forward. Guess what? The Liberals all voted against it again. So, I mean, we're banging our head against the wall. So, it's time to step up, turn up the heat. We all need to get creative in the way we do it. I mean, like I said, I'm a millwright from a factory, but 6 weeks of 24 hours a day, it was easy. Pull it off. I mean, really, the summit was the hard part to pull off. Once that was done and everybody got involved and engaged, it came together a lot easier. But really, the real question is, you got to ask. And you'd be amazed what people will do for you if you ask them to help. So along with that, and $47,000, I think we raised for those picketers, all of which has been put back in their hands, or will be by Christmas. Half of it has been. We just, CAW dropped off another $20,000 the other day, which was a huge boost for those guys. But it really wasn't about collecting money. That wasn't our focus. These guys have stood up and done everything we've ever taught them about a labor movement, our ideals, everything we believe in. They've bought into this 100%. They're doing our job for us. And they really crave the solidarity, because they really believe that they were forgotten on that line. But today, we're not forgotten. If you stop there, they're smiling, they're laughing, they're ready for another 2 years. I hope that doesn't have to happen, of course. And I don't think we're going to let it happen. We're going to bring it to a head sooner than that. So, probably shouldn't say too much more about our plans moving forward, but I'm sure you'll all follow very closely when it happens. Thank you.
It's Mike Hurley. He's second vice president of the Canadian Union of Public Employees, and he's also the president of the Ontario Council of Hospital Unions within CUPE, and he's going to be talking to us about mobilizing to resist healthcare sector cutbacks.
Colin Lees did a presentation at a forum that the Workers' Assembly sponsored with the Ontario Health Coalition, the Ontario Coalition Against Poverty, in June. He's a professor in Great Britain, and he talked about the reforms that have been introduced in Britain that are dismantling the National Health Service. And when he made his presentation, I was almost physically sick, because many of the things that they've implemented in Britain, the McKenzie government, they're quite ardent students of the Labour government's third way, and they've implemented those mechanisms here, including introducing a market into the home care system, including introducing a market into the hospital clinical care system, radically expanding the privatization of long-term care, etc. And for hospital workers in Ontario, we've been basically bogged down in localized fights about health services. So, for example, when they tried to close the emergency department in St. Mary's, when they tried to close a hospital in Richards Landing near the Sioux, the closures of hospitals in Fort Erie, Port Colborne, some large downsizing that's going on, which is really about reducing the capacity of smaller regional hospitals, because when they introduce the market into clinical care, the surgical procedures, etc., are going to gravitate to the larger hospitals, which are capable of performing the procedures. So to this point, we've been battling sort of in isolation of one another, and putting pressure on the Liberals, to find resources to stop cutbacks in communities like Cornwall or Sudbury. We've had some success with that. But what the wage freeze proposal of the provincial government did was give us an opportunity to focus the attention of all of our members around the general health policy of the Liberals, because they were inviting us to enter into a quid pro quo. You give us a wage freeze and we'll talk about what you'd like. And of course what they thought we'd like would be things that, like forcing all employers to participate in hospital central bargaining. That's what they thought we'd like. But what we put on the table instead was a 5-year moratorium on the closure of any hospital emergency departments, 5-year moratorium on the closure of any hospitals, 5-year moratorium on any privatization of hospital clinical services, an investment in the deep cleaning of hospitals to deal with hospital-acquired infections, etc. That was our agenda. And I guess the implicit quid pro quo would be if they had said to us, well, okay, no more hospital closures, no more ER closures, then we would have had to go back to our members probably and say, well, now we're going to have to talk about the quid here. But they weren't interested, of course, in doing that. But what it's done for us is given us the opportunity to talk to our members about the health policy and to start to organize them together And so we just had a demonstration in Peterborough. Peterborough, it's a regional hospital, and in the British view of the world, a community like Peterborough won't have a hospital anymore. It'll have a polyclinic. So they just downsized 283 jobs at that facility. You can imagine this is not a monstrous facility, and it's going on all around them as well. Northumberland's downsizing, Lindsay's downsizing, Oshawa's downsizing, and so we put it to our members that what we should start to do is, instead of just battling this at a local level, we should focus our energies. So we hope we could get 600 people out in Peterborough. But actually 800 bussed and drove in for it, and we had a wonderful, wonderful feeling at that day. Thank you, Will. But we have another demo coming up November 26th. We've given out posters. That one's at the Ministry of Health. We're hoping we've got 2,000 people up to that one. And then we're going to have a demonstration in early February in Hamilton. In Hamilton, there's a proposal to build a psychiatric hospital as a public-private partnership hospital, one of 24 P3 projects. When the province asked us for a wage freeze for our 30,000 hospital workers, that would have generated $25 million. We asked them, we did a presentation for them on P3s, and we said the Auditor General says the cost overruns on 4 P3s are $950 million. You want to talk about restraints, so are you prepared to stop the P3s? And they said, well, no, we're not. There's 24, and of course, the cost overruns are the least of it. The additional costs in profits, the additional administrative costs, legal costs, accounting costs to run these P3s make them 30% more expensive than a normal hospital, according to the British Medical Association Journal. Dr. Alison Pollock did some great work on that. So we hope to have that demonstration and another one, and then at our April convention, ask our members for permission to begin taking strike votes. So that in the lead up to the provincial election, we have to try to find a way to focus the attention of our members, and to also try to find a way to popularize what is a very complex topic with the public, because the public doesn't get how all of this fits together, and that what it really leads to is the dismantlement of the Medicare system. That's where it inevitably leads to, and that's something that that healthcare workers shouldn't accept. So the great thing about the McKenzie government's wage freeze initiative for us was that it allowed us to focus on their political agenda, and as a result, our leadership at the local level, when they saw those people pouring off the buses from as far away as Sudbury, they fed off that. They got a sense of their strength and their power, and that they're like an army if they work together. So if any of you can come, November 26th, we have some posters here, and we really appreciate your support. Thank you very much.
The third speaker is Monica McKenzie. She's a member activist of Unite Here Local 75. Unite Here Local 75 is currently engaged in a really, really important campaign of coordinated bargaining with 35 hotels. I'm sure you've heard of it, representing more than 5,000 workers who have been without a contract since at least January of last year. And they're engaged in a campaign of rotating strikes. And she's going to talk to us about that struggles.
I think they save the best for last. I don't like public speaking, but because maybe I'm good at it, that's why I do it so often. My name is Monica McKenzie. My union is Unite Here Local 75, Hotel Workers Union. I'm going to tell you a little bit about me before we move on. I'm not going to take up much of your time, but I'm a single mother with a 19-year-old son from Jamaica. I'm in this country 10 years. My first job is working at the Hilton Airport Hotel. I'm there for 7 years now. When I start working at the airport Hilton, I know nothing about the unions because it's my first job in this country. I worked there for about 2 years. It was hard because I'm a dishwasher there. And in the dish room, it's all guys. I was the first woman to work there. Fortunately, I tend to follow what everybody said because I find that a lot of people were a bit scared, but I didn't know why. And On Sundays when I work by myself, my boss will say, you need to do more. You know, everybody else do it, so you need to do the same thing, or else this is not the job for you. I was a bit timid and scared because I'm thinking, wow, what would I do if I can't feed my son? I work, and you will jab at me, you need to do it faster, you need to do more, and I tend to do it. You find out one day, I was about 5 months pregnant and working. I said to him, you know, I don't think I can do this much today because I'm not feeling well. He said, if you can, go home. I said, okay. So I start doing the work. While I was working, I started about 4 o'clock, about 8:30, I start feeling pain. And right there, I had a miscarriage at work. Fortunately, nothing happened. The ambulance came, went to the hospital, did my thing, come back to about 2 weeks off. The company keep calling me, the HR. Monica, when are you coming back? When are you coming back? I didn't even know my right or what to do. So I came back to work. I felt, you know, like talking to my co-workers saying, you know, is this right? What's going on here? Why is this happening to me? They said, well, I don't know. The reason why nobody was involved in the union, we have the book and you will read it or you don't read it, and that's about it. Co-worker of mine, Carlos, said to me, Monica, there's going to be a union meeting. I need you to come with me. I said, no, I don't think so. A co-worker said, if you go, the company going to target you, leave the union alone. But then I think about it and I went. That's when I started. Today, I am a rank and file leader in my union. I am out and volunteer organizing with my union. I organize 4 properties on the airport strip. The reason why I get involved is there's a lot of things going on in the workplace, but sometimes people don't know their rights, coming from different backgrounds and everything, so they tend to just push it aside. And what I learned in Unite Here Local 75, it's about building people up. Teach them and let them know and help each other so we can build a movement so we can help each other. You know, Local 75 today, I talk about it and I have goosebumps. You know, reason for that is in 2004, I think, Hotel Workers Rising came out. And with Hotel Workers Rising, it's about building and beating back the boss and standing up for your right and get involved. You know, in the hotels before, workers there 35 years were getting $2 an hour and breaking their bodies. They do 16, 20 rooms a day. And today we fight that back. Right now we have 39 contracts that expire at the same time. And right now we're in collective bargaining. And we're saying to the company, you mess with one hotel, you mess with all.
All right.
We organize the non-union properties because no hotel should leave behind. You know, Hotel Workers Rising is about lifting workers above the poverty line, fighting back workload, getting a better contract for all hotel workers. And the way we do that, we build committees. And we will go to their home, knock on their door, have coffee with workers after work, tell them a little about myself. I want to know about them also. And that's how people get to trust us. And then when we go back in that workplace and fight, we fight to the bitter end. We do a lot of rollout strikes starting in, I think, June. 39 properties expire, and we do a one day. We just hit them one day in different areas. The company crying, they might not cry loud enough for lots to hear, but believe me, they're feeling it. Because, you know, they'll send their little message, so you know. And tomorrow, the Delta Chelsea, we're having our strike. And I'm inviting all my brothers and sisters. When hotel workers are under attack, we stand up and fight back. And I'm saying today, it starts with building committees. That's the only way to get it done. And go in and fight the boss. And we get back so many money from the company because we push back the workload. You know, we get TTC pass We do a lot of things, and it starts with building and committee. And we go out, house visit, be people friend, be at their barbecue, interact with everybody, because we are one. And that's the only way we're going to beat back the bar. So join me tomorrow at the Delta Chelsea, and I look forward to see you all there.
For the unnamed and unnumbered who struggle brave and long, for the union men and women standing up and standing strong. Yep.